for each of them to tell their story on how they got here. When meeting with each one of them, I told them their only job is to make sure their speech is interesting enough to keep a bunch of old men awake after a buffet dinner. Our first speaker tonight is Thomas Stobbe. He currently is a student employee for plant engineering, but will very soon be a maintenance management associate at U.S. Steel Gary Works. He will graduate in December from Purdue Northwest with a mechanical engineering degree. And Thomas is a maintainer on the KC-135 for the U.S. Air Force.
Thank you for the introduction, Warren, and good evening, everyone. My name is Thomas Stobbe, but some of you out in the audience might know me as Peyton, which is my middle name. It's okay to respond to both of them equally. And yes, unlike most of the young professionals here, I'm actually a mechanical engineering student here at Purdue University Northwest. And lastly, yes, thank you. Like you said, I'm a student for plant engineering, or a student employee for plant engineering at United States Steel. Soon to be maintenance upon graduation, and that's actually at Midwest. So, no, thank you though, thank you. Anyway, so I'd like to begin tonight's speech with the beginning of my life. Okay, so throughout my childhood and my early teenage years spent here in Northwest Indiana, I began to develop two central thoughts that I knew would mold my life and shape who I was to become for the rest of my life. As every early teenage person thinks about themselves, they know everything. I mean, you can ask my parents, they're actually here tonight in the audience. Anyway, so these two central thoughts were: one, I'll not be anything like my dad, David Stobbe, who again is actually out here in the audience tonight, so a little spoiler alert on how that one went. And then two, I am not going to live in Northwest Indiana and work in those massive ugly steel mills. And you probably see how that ended up turning out for me as well. So here I am. Starting with point number one, please allow me to give a little background on my dad. My father started his mechanical engineering career studying mechanical engineering at the University of Toledo, did one semester, and then dropped out. But it's okay, because shortly thereafter he enlisted in the Air Force and served 4 years in active duty, spending 2 of those years overseas. At the end of his active duty tour, he immediately re-enrolled in college, finished his degree in mechanical engineering at the University of Toledo, and then got hired at National Steel Great Lakes Works, where he spent the first 16 years of his career. And a few notable things I'd like to mention about the first 16 years of his career is in 1996, he was actually awarded the most prestigious certification from the Vibration Institute, which is a Category 4 vibration analyst, which only a handful of people in this country possess today. In 1998, actually, interestingly enough, he was the keynote presenter at the Pittsburgh AIST convention in 1998, sorry. And also in 1998, and the reason that I am here today is because he took a transfer to National Steel Midwest, which is actually United States Steel Midwest today, down where he borders Indiana. Now, I wish I would have known literally any of this about my dad before I started working in the steel mill, because all I ever saw him as was some crazy old man who worked in the steel mill. But don't worry, Dad, I still see you as a crazy old man who works in a steel mill. I just have a lot more respect and admiration for your accomplishments in this industry. Now, shifting gears to my life in 2017, when I, at 17 years old, decided to ask my father what I should study for college. It's a great first step, not want to do anything like your dad. Go ahead and ask him for advice. And when his response to that question was 2 of his own questions, which was 1, do you like your physics class you're taking? And 2, do you like your calculus class you're taking? And when the answer to the question was, well, I'm not failing them, and I don't fall asleep as fast in those as I do in French and government, he said, that's great, you should study mechanical engineering. And that was all the prerequisite he wanted for me to be able to study mechanical engineering. That's what I set out to do with my life. If you pay any attention to my dad's story, hopefully you remember, because I started off my mechanical engineering degree, I got through 1 semester, dropped out, and enlisted in the Air Force as none other than a maintainer, just like my dad. But I wanted to be nothing like. But it's okay, because I'm happy with where I ended up. Anyways, throughout my time in basic training or boot camp, I had a lot of time to reflect on my decision not to stick with school or stick with professional development. And I'm glad I joined the reserves because by the time that my technical training school was over, I had actually been accepted at Purdue University Northwest to continue my mechanical engineering degree, and that's what I set out to do. So, fast forward to the year 2021, nearing the end of my sophomore year of college, and I see all my friends applying for internships. And they're applying all over the country and even other parts of the world. And this was my opportunity to finally get out of Northwest Indiana, as I probably would have seen it in the past. But after spending 5 months in Texas for basic training in tech school, and spending 3 months in the middle of nowhere in Indiana, otherwise known as Grissom Air Force Base, and then spending another 5 months in the middle of nowhere in the Middle East for my deployment, I actually had come to realize that Northwest Indiana is a pretty special place to me, but more Northwest Indiana being special to me. So I started applying for internships around this area, and I got my first interview with none other than United States Steel Gary Works. My start date was May 31st, 2021, and the rest is history. Throughout my time in the steel industry, I've had the privilege of getting to see firsthand steel from start to finish. I've had the privilege of getting to work alongside engineers, operations, maintenance, reliability-centered maintenance, environmental engineers, quality, process controls, and plenty of impressive and knowledgeable contractors who more times than not have worn a few of those hats themselves. Throughout my time in the steel industry, I have had the privilege of being able to see capital projects from groundbreaking to commissioning, and I've had the privilege to work alongside engineers, operations, and maintenance during major outages, both of which to me are nothing short of amazing. And when I say privilege, I do not use that word lightly, as my time in the steel industry has been nothing short of a privilege to be a part of. Speaking of privileges, let me go back to the second point of tonight's speech, which is that Northwest Indiana had nothing special to offer for me, and I'm not staying here. Well, what childhood me would eventually come to find out through working in the steel industry is that Northwest Indiana is without a doubt the most concentrated, integrated steelmaking capital of North America. What I would eventually also come to find out is that professionals from all over this planet know who we are because of the industrial powerhouse that Northwest Indiana is. Northwest Indiana alone is home to North America's largest blast furnace, North America's largest integrated steelmaking complex, America's soon-to-be last fully operational tin mill product equipped finishing mills, America's newest integrated steel mill, and if you want to consider just over the border of Illinois as Northwest Indiana, like a lot of us do, we also have the world's first basic oxygen furnace and iron-fed compact strip production plant. It is this team of people that makes me so proud to be able to call myself an engineer in the steel industry. And matter of fact, I'm more proud to call myself an engineer for United States Steel than I am a veteran of the United States Air Force, especially when I meet people from around this area. And speaking of people from around this area, I'd like to talk a little bit about the people in this room tonight. Is this group of people that have lived through some of the best times in the steel industry, but more notably, have survived some of the worst times in the American steel industry. It is this group of people in this room that have defied the trends of the American integrated steelmaking industry and kept our blast furnaces pumping out iron decades after watching dozens of mills shutter their operations forever. It is this group of people who have adapted and overcame the environmental, governmental, and ethical challenges of keeping the integrated steelworks running in the 21st century. It is this group of people who make the best damn steel in this country, and that is a known fact worldwide, because trust me when I say, if what we made was garbage, we would not be around. You all are the reason I wake up every single day, excited to come into work, knowing that what we are doing is making a difference and contributing to keeping this area and this country alive and well for generations to come. Thank you all, and I look forward to seeing you at work.